Please take your seat. We'll start the regular meeting of the Fort Ord Reuse Authority for Friday, December 9th, 2016 at 2 p.m. If you'll please all stand and join me in the pledge. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May we have a roll call, please?
Jane Parker, Dave Potter, John Phillips, Mayor Jerry Edelin, Mayor Pro Tem Frank O'Connell,
Here.
Councilmember Gail Morton, Councilmember Alan Hoffa, Mayor Ralph Rubio, Mayor Pro Tem Ian Oglesby, Mayor David Pendergrass, Mayor Joe Gunter, Councilmember Casey Lucius, or Mayor Bill Camp, Councilmember Jan Reimers, Alec Arago, Nicole Charles, Erica Parker, Debbie Hale. Thank you. Dr. Diffenbaugh, Dr. Scott Brandt, thank you. Dr. Ochoa. Here. Bill Collins, Vicky Nakamura. Thank you. Lisa Reinheimer, Howard Gustafson.
Bill Lee for MCWD.
Thank you.
Good to go?
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We will now go to acknowledgements and announcements. Mr. Hulemart, please.
Yes, Chair, members of the board, first I just want you to note at your table that you have a shopping bag provided by the Fort Ord Reuse Authority that we use for our outreach and engagement program. Many times when Laura Vidari and her colleagues are at different events like Marina or Monterey or Delray Oaks or other places, they'll use these as a way of getting a bag that somebody will use when they're at the farmer's market or something like that. And so these are a part of what we do with them. We have a booth that gives folks information about the munitions and explosives program. We thought the board members would enjoy it just as much. And also to mark the holiday, you have some nutritious events, little items for your personal nutritional needs. Chair, we also have a couple of resolutions, three acknowledging three members of the board. One who's not here today, the other two are. I'd like to read those into the record, if I may.
Please do so. Thank you.
I'd like to begin with a resolution of the Fort Ord Reuse Authority Board acknowledging City of Pacific Grove Council Member Casey Lucius, and that would be, it is hereby resolved that the Fort Ord Reuse Authority Board of Directors that whereas Casey Lucius served in the United States in many ways, but in defense of the nation for 7 years of active duty after graduating from Naval Officer Candidate School in Pensacola, Florida. She then went on to intelligence training in Virginia Beach before serving on an aircraft carrier in the Persian Gulf, worked with U.S. Navy SEAL Team 5 to carry out maritime interdiction operations to halt illegal oil export from Iraq, and earned a Master of Arts in National Security Affairs at the Naval Postgraduate School. Post this was assigned to Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, as primary daily intelligence briefer to the Pacific Fleet Commander while attending the University of Hawaii and securing a PhD in political science. Whereas Ms. Lucius, elected to serve on the Council of Pacific Grove in 2012, was elected to serve, and whereas Lucius has been a member of the Fort Ord Reuse Authority Board since 2014, consistently representing the interest of Pacific Grove while focused on the fiscal, health, and programmatic goals of the recovery program. And whereas Councilmember Lucius has been actively engaged in transportation, natural resources, airport, and water issues facing the Monterey Bay region, and whereas Councilmember Lucius brought her keen mind and sharp pencil and bright smile to her Fort Ord Reuse Authority roles, especially serving on the Finance Committee and consistently promoting fiscal responsibilities and agency accountability issues. And whereas the former Fort Ord Economic and Regional Recovery Program has benefited immensely from Councilmember Lucius' no fluff, all business, stand at attention, assertive style, Now therefore be it resolved for all of these reasons described above, but not limited thereto, the Fort Ord Reuse Authority Board expresses its sincere commendation to Councilmember Lucius, and be it further resolved that the Board of Directors extends its sincere appreciation and deepest gratitude to Casey Lucius for her leadership and exemplary service to the Monterey Bay region. Number one. Number two, this is for a shy and retiring supervisor. Whereas Dave Potter was elected supervisor of Monterey County's 5th District in 1996 and subsequently re-elected 4 times, also serving 4 terms as board chair. And whereas as supervisor, Dave Potter has been a member of the Authority Board of Directors for the past 19 years, serving from December of 2010 to January 2013, including prior service as an alternate with the City of Monterey since the Fort Ord Reuse Authority's initiation. Whereas Supervisor Potter has either served as an alternate or voting member since it was created and established the elected official tenure record for service on the California Coastal Commission and championed balancing economic vitality with environmental conservation. And whereas Dave Potter has been dedicated to the service of the region throughout his career and was especially effective in negotiating and obtaining former Fort Ord real property through an economic development conveyance, engaged the U.S. Army in funding the $100 million Environmental Service Agreement, and advocated for creating the Fort Ord National Monument. And whereas Supervisor Potter has consistently initiated, participated in, or created regional solutions to educational, political, socioeconomic, and environmental issues facing the community. And whereas Mr. Potter wisely chose to migrate to Monterey in 1970, which eventually resulted in the region benefiting from his eloquent, unreserved, forthright, and unmistakable Hingham, Massachusetts accented description of the Central Coast. And whereas Mr. Potter served in multiple State of California and Monterey Bay region roles with political distinction, extraordinary leadership, and commendable community sensitivity in supporting the former Fort Ord recovery, despite his overarching lifetime dream to be a Boston Bruins ice hockey legend while scoring the winning goal to secure Lord Stanley's Cup. Now therefore be it resolved for all the reasons described above, but not limited to thereto, the Authority Board of Directors expresses its sincere commendation to Supervisor Potter. Be it further resolved that the Fort Ord Reuse Authority family and Board of Directors extends its appreciation and gratitude to Dave for his leadership and exemplary service. And finally, to another shy, retiring, reserved City of Seaside Council member, it is hereby resolved that the Fort Ord Reuse Authority Board, that whereas Ian N. Oglesby was elected to and began to serve on the Council of City of Seaside in 2008 and designated as Mayor Pro Tem in 2014, and whereas Mayor Pro Tem Oglesby has been an alternate or a member of the Authority Board of Directors for the past 8 years, effectively representing the interests of Seaside and vigorously advocating for all veterans issues, but especially for the creation of the California Central Coast Veterans Cemetery. And whereas Mayor Pro Tem Oglesby brought his independence, commitment to cultural and racial inclusiveness, belief in governmental transparency and efficiency, and support for sustainable economic programs to his varying roles at the authority. And whereas Ian Oglesby not only served his country for 10 years with the U.S. Army, including at the former Fort Ord, but also served the state of California and Monterey region in various roles, including his current post as a state corrections officer, past board member of the United Way, and years on the Monterey County Overall Economic Development Commission and the Seaside Planning Commission. And whereas Mayor Pro Tem Oglesby served multiple roles for the authority, notably 4 years as a member of the Finance Committee, including 2 years as chair, 3 years as a member of the Veterans Issues Advisory Committee, and weathering a stint on the Post-Reassessment Advisory Committee. And whereas the authority has benefited immensely from Mr. Ogilvy's assertive, unrelenting advocacy for job creation and economic recovery, despite being impaired by his laissez-faire, soft-spoken, diplomatic, reserved, quiet, unassuming, and demure style. Now therefore be it resolved for all reasons described above, but not limited thereto, that Port Orford Reuse Authority Board of Directors expresses its sincere commendation to Mayor Pro Tem Ian Oglesby. Be it further resolved on behalf of the whole Port Orford Reuse Authority family and board that we extend our sincere appreciation and deepest gratitude to Ian Oglesby for his leadership and exemplary service to the Monterey Bay region. I'm sorry, Chair, we did shorten those up quite a bit from the original.
Well, yeah, I saw two heads expanding, and I was wondering what was going on.
So,
Would
Chair,
either of you two like to make comment? Dave or Ian?
Well, I think Supervisor Phillips put it well to me the other day. He said, Dave, how can I miss you if you don't go away? So I would note that we've had many last meetings over the course of the last couple of weeks. It's been an honor to serve. I think the thing I'd like to do most is acknowledge the team that I had in my office that was able to make me effective. That's Kathleen Lee, who's now gone over to Jimmy Panetta's office and will be Chief of Staff for this congressional district. I think that's a great advantage to this agency, other agencies, to have somebody go into office serving with the knowledge that she has, that she's gained over 16 years and plus of representing this area, both supervisorially, but also in a variety of other capacities. I think we're blessed there. Jane in my office is now over as the PA to the sheriff, and Brian is now over resource management. We had a great team there. We were able to do a lot. I may be the quarterback, but as you well know, you don't win a game with just a quarterback. You need a team on the field. I was lucky that way. And I just hope we all remember that, you know, when this base closed, there was a regional impact that we said was regional, not just parochial, not just to one jurisdiction. That mission is not complete, and I would hope that we remember that there's still work to be done. So it's been my pleasure to be here for as long as I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
I want to just thank Michael for that resolution. He came up, made up a whole bunch of stuff, but I want to say thanks to Supervisor Potter for what he helped me do while I was here. You know, he was a great leader for us and a good advocate for both districts. You know, and I wish Supervisor Parker was here. I would think her the same way too. I want to thank the board as a whole. You guys were wonderful. The ones that are here and the ones that are not here, and the staff too, representing their folks. It was great. It's great working with you guys. I don't think I'm going too far, so you'll see me around in other areas, other venues. So you'll see me again. But I just want to say that it was a lot of respect for all of you guys, and learn a lot from you. And I want to also say I want to thank the FORA staff for backing us all up and supporting us all and supporting the mission. And I was going to say the same thing too. Even though it's only a couple land use jurisdictions, it's all of our responsibilities to push the base forward. And sometimes you may not agree with that land use jurisdiction, but it's your responsibility to push the regional economic development forward. So I thank every member from the board. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both very, very much for all your service to this board and to the region in general. We will now go to consent agenda. We have on the consent agenda numbers 5A through I. We are going to pull 5A, the minutes of November 4, and we'll put those over to January. The deputy clerk needs to review them to determine if there's a need to make any slight modifications to the wording of one or two of the items on this. So other than that, is there any member of the board that has any questions relating to any of the consent agenda items or desires to pull any one of the same? Seeing none, we will go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public?
Good evening, Chair O'Connell, board leaders, Bob Schaefer, representing Marina Community Partners. Just wanted to remind the board that Doug Yount, who's the project director for the Dunes project, brought up at the Finance Committee meeting that there is still $4.7 million due to Marina Community Partners for demolition that they undertook and have not been reimbursed for. Thank you.
Thank you. Since that comment was made, I would assume that won't be under public comments at a later time. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Any other members of the public? Seeing none, we'll bring it back and close public comment. May I have a motion, please?
Consent.
I'm sorry. Public comment is closed. Kathy, was it relating to some item that is on the actual consent agenda, or is it something on public comment later on in the meeting? Thank you. Thank you. Okay. May I have a motion relating to the motion to approve the consent agenda minus 5A? It's approved, seconded by Board Member Rubio, and the motion was made by Board Member Gunter. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. And let me step back. The executive officer, who's been here since God made fish, just sent a note to me saying that we have to have a motion relating to the approval of the resolutions that he read. So would someone please on the board? It's been moved by Board Member Rubio and seconded by Board Member Phillips to approve or accept those three resolutions. Anyone in the board want to make comment? Seeing none. Anyone in the public? Oh, there was your last opportunity to really. We'll close public comment. Bring it back. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That is unanimous. Going to 6A, we have Transition Task Force recommendation. This is a second vote. We had a presentation relating to this at the last meeting in November. Is there any member of the board that has any questions relating to this? There are staff members present if necessary. Seeing none, we will go to the public. Anyone in the public have anything relating to this before we take it back to the second vote? Seeing none, this is a good meeting. We'll close public comment and seek a motion relating to this.
Second.
Moved by Board Member Rubio, and is it seconded by Board Member Phillips, was it?
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
It's Morton saying no, and other than that, everyone voted affirmatively. There was no abstaining from anyone, was there? Great, thank you. 6B is also a second vote, consisting of determination on the Delray Oaks Monument RV Resort. Second vote. Anyone on the board have any comment or questions? Anyone in the public? Seeing none, we'll close public comments. Entertain a motion relating to 6B. It's been moved by Board Member Gunter and seconded by Board Member Rubio. Any comments on the motion? Seeing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Board Member Morton saying no. The balance saying yes. No abstentions. We will go to 6C, Water Augmentation Status Update. This is an informational item only. Michael?
Yes, Peter say Jonathan Brinkman will provide a brief report. I think should take almost 3 minutes, right, Peter?
All right. Yeah. Well,
Thank you, members of the board.
yeah.
This is a status update of the Water Augmentation Program. Simply, I'm just going to go through and explain a little bit about where we're at and where we've been. Starting for a little bit of background for those in the room who might not be familiar, in 2005, FORA, in conjunction with MCWD, came up with what was called a Regional Urban Water Augmentation Project. It was a combination, it was a hybrid of a recycled and desalinization, and it applied 2,400 acre-feet of water augmentation mitigation, for which we could come up with additional sources for. Between then, in May 2007, 1,427 acre-feet of water, roughly half of the 2,400 acre-feet was designated to the jurisdictions, And since then, in October 2015, there was a memorandum of agreement between FORA, MCWD, and MRWPCA to study how to go about providing a source for the remaining 973 acre-feet. Again, this is a water augmentation. So just to kind of give a pictorial, there is one water augmentation program. It's pretty much summarized underneath the Regional Urban Water Augmentation Project. There's the first phase, which is the recycled phase, and then there's the second phase, the all of the above phase. Under the recycled phase, we completed a pipeline reimbursement agreement, which was executed in September 2016. And under the all of the above phase, we completed a three-party MOU agreement, which was also executed in May 2016. So we're really moving this project ahead forward. Let's talk a little bit detail of status concerning the recycled component. MCWD has received the initial funds from the pipeline financing agreement, and they've moved forward on the engineering. They are also working to secure easements and rights-of-way, and they are currently obtaining commitments from the jurisdictions to receive and pay for water. There is an upcoming meeting, December 14th. I believe they've put a note out for that FORA will be hosting or facilitating. And again, the recycled component is for the 1,427 acre-feet of water augmentation. The all of the above portion, the status of that is that the technical advisory group, which was established in the MOU that was approved in May, has been established, and we have public works and engineering individuals from the various jurisdictions on that group, and they are currently providing input and advice on the study that we're moving forward with and RFP coordination. Again, the all of the above portion is for the remaining 973 acre-feet. So to get into some detail of what they're doing on the study, here is the study scope. The scope is meant for a consultant to review the regulations, the obligations, and constraints of the water program. It's to identify what the potential water augmentation alternatives are. It is to go through and do a feasibility and economic analysis of those alternatives, including cost-benefit and comparative analyses. And then they're going to bring that back, we're going to bring all that information back to the board for the board to make a selection on what solution is best. It could be one solution, or as we prefer to talk about in the recent months, the all of the above solution. So today, it's just a brief status update. I believe I might be able to keep this under 3 minutes. In January, we approve an alternative study solicitation. In February, we will advertise and select a consultant, and in March we seek to have board approval of a contract with the consultant. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Any board member have any questions relating to this presentation? Seeing none, we will go out to the public. Is there any member of the public who has any questions relating to this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Thank you very much for the presentation. I want everyone to know it's 2:25. By the way, there are restaurants across the street diagonally. Not that I'm promoting Marina, but we got here early enough. Smashburg is open, so. Let's go to 6D, the authorized general engineering service agreement solicitation. This is an action item. Mr. Hulmark, please.
Again, this is a presentation that will be done by Peter Said. There's a couple of items that are in your board packet that a couple of board members asked questions about, and Peter will address those as he does his presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you again, board. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Chair O'Connell.
Whatever.
This particular item is for a general engineering services agreement. It's needed to be able to support existing projects. Those projects include building removal, both the surplus 2 and stockade. It's to be able to support general transportation requirements, independent estimates, that sort of thing. And for any urgent emergency needs that come up, and they frequently do come up. It is also meant to be able to provide project engineering and construction management support, as well as assist ongoing operations and program definition. Currently, staff needs additional engineering resources. We do need project engineering resources, site inspection, site supervision, and wage monitoring resources. This is easily done through the use of a consultant rather than hiring on new employees. The estimate consultant cost is roughly $160,000 a year, which is cheaper than bringing on 2 employees. It would be for 5 years or until the transition. It's on a work order basis. We wouldn't be fulfilling a full $160,000 every year. It would just be as needed, depending on what comes up and what needs to get done. And then it would be a pay as work is completed. So if we need 20,000 work at a time, we would do it and pay it as they complete the work and then move on to another work order. Initially, what we wanted to do was expedite the process, so the board report recommends the executive officer to execute the contract, and that way we could remove the step on a fairly mundane and general services agreement. But our current action plan, due to some of the comments we received, is simply to is to ask for approval to solicit, and therefore we could solicit in January for a consultant. In February, we could select and negotiate a contract, and then March we could return to the board for approval. So the current recommendation, which is slightly different than what's in your board packet, is that the board authorize the executive officer to solicit qualifications, select a firm, and negotiate a professional services contract for general engineering and construction management support of CIP projects not to exceed $800,000. That $800,000 is roughly $160,000 over 5 years. Thank you. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Peter. Any member of the board have any questions relating to this item? Board Member Rubio.
A good presentation, pretty precise. The only question I have is, does this include bid services? I know it says general CIP bid documents, but does that go down to specific project areas?
What that includes is areas for support in putting together bid packages. So frequently on some of the larger projects, for instance, Giggling Road, we would need independent estimates, which are part of the initial bid package. We would need some review over the contracts pertaining to some details, things like liability, things like transfer of risk, whatnot. So, yeah, it would include some support in bid documents.
And through the bid process?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member? The executive officer does have minor comment.
Yeah, very minor, but it's an important one because a couple of the board members had indicated last year that whether FORA, whatever the transition is, we have a fairly significant bite on PERS, and the idea here is instead of hiring inspectors as we had done in the past, as projects moved along, we would use this contract services to reduce any potential impact on PERS liability.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions from board members, yes, go ahead, Board Member Morton.
So if this is coming into its existence in 2017, this contract for a 5-year period, are we committed for 5 years if FORA sunsets in 2020?
No. In fact, I think it said on the slide that it's the transition or 5 years, whichever is earlier.
Okay, I didn't read it quickly enough.
Oh,
Not
sorry.
that fast to read it. Thank
Sorry.
you.
Thank you. It was an excellent question. Going out to the public, anyone in the public have any questions or comments relating to this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. I'd entertain a motion relating to this. Once again, it does not grant authority for the execution of the actual contract. That will be coming back in March, I believe. And so the recommendation is on the board. Board Member Rubio's make a motion consistent with what's on the screen. Second by Board Member Edelin. Any comments on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Wow. Okay, it's 2:30. Public comments. Is it giving me an early Christmas present, people? Public comments, you have up to 3 minutes. If you're not there within 10 seconds, too late.
A little pressure here. Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Kathy Biala, and I'm a resident of Marina. As FORA prepares to sunset, or alternatively to consider requesting an extension, the issue of what is the most appalling and most visible eyesore that the military could have left the city of Marina still remains. This is the blight of barracks that we see every day, and because we have to live with this, some forget how unsightly this is to visitors and newcomers alike. It is shocking to most people. Has been described as the perfect Hollywood set for zombie movies. But this so-called gift of undeveloped land is not just a matter of aesthetics, but it has indirectly contributed to an alarming trend of gentrification and change in the basic character of our small town. Marina's average income is about $32,000 a year. We are a working class population with a high level of community spirit, and we have an unprecedented diversity that was cemented by the military, who used Marina as the place to settle GIs with foreign brides, especially the 3 Asian wars. When developers have to assume the cleanup of barracks laden with lead and asbestos, this significant additional cost justifies their building $700,000 to $1 million homes that almost no marina residents can afford. By ignoring a basic responsibility to assume cleanup of blighted military buildings, FORA has put us on the path of altering the basic identity and uniqueness of marina. I do not understand the intricacies of your processes by which removal of this blight can occur, but Marina beseeches you to not leave this unfortunate FORA legacy that is visible to all and contributes to a radical change in who Marina is. It is stunning to me to realize that FORA plans on either closing or seeking continuation without any serious plans to rectify this. On the blight that is still left on marina-owned property, your assistance will allow the city to provide for the needs of more affordable residential and commercial options for our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public?
Tom Mancini, on a lighter note, yes, Mr. Mayor, Mr. McConnell, there are two nice operating restaurants across the street here. I went at 12:30 today to check into the teriyaki. It was a 45-minute wait. Wait a minute. Then I went next door to the Smash Burger. Yesterday, it took me 7 minutes to get from the door to the counter and 15 minutes to get my meal. So I went to Subway. It took 10 minutes. I just wanted to make the day there.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public?
I would like to echo what Ms. Viola said about blight removal. Marina has contributed probably about $80 million to blight removal, and we certainly have not gotten the benefit of that. Instead of focusing on projects like Eastside Parkway, FORA has an obligation to the City of Marina to be removing blight. Our marina developers have taken down the majority, and this has severely cut the money that has gone to Marina as a result of sales. I also wanted to point out an article in this last week's Monterey County Weekly by David Schmaltz, an excellent summary of the water situation on Fort Ord and the peril that Marina is in with the current pumping of the 180-foot, 400-foot, and especially 900-foot aquifers. Saltwater intrusion was not even to Highway 1 in 1944. It's to Salinas now. And we are getting the majority of our water from the 900-foot aquifer, which does not recharge. The Army had a report in 1986, long-range water supply development for Fort Ord, California, stating that we needed to eliminate reliance on local on groundwater and get to surface water solutions. And as a worst case, this concept should include abandoning the installation altogether because Fort Ord was so worried about saltwater intrusion and the water supply. And of course, they did abandon it, but Marina has done nothing to rectify the situation. This body needs to be aware of the situation when it comes to Fort Ord development, and also that any pumping by Cal-Am will greatly exacerbate this problem for Marina and for Fort Ord development. Thank you. I have copies of this in the back.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Anyone else in the public have any comments? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. We'll go to items from members. Any member of the board have anything that they'd like to say other than
Happy holidays.
That's me. Board Member Rubio has something to say.
I'd just like to thank the outgoing members of the board for all their hard work. It's been a pleasure working with both of you, and especially you, Mayor Pro Tem. We worked very well together, and you, Supervisor Potter, for all the projects we worked on together. It's been a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing you out on the golf course.
Thank you all.
Chair.
Board Member Edelin?
Yeah, very quickly, I also want to thank Ian for working. We work well. He's a stand-up guy. If you ever get in trouble, you want him on your back. And with Dave Potter, I met him 18 years ago as a young firebrand. Tried to lock horns with him 3 times, and each time I looked down on my desk, and there was a silver platter with my rear end sitting on it. And I was wondering, how the hell did he get my rear end on a silver 3 times in a row? And I finally, after 3 times, realized, if you're going against Dave Potter, you need to see the big picture, do your homework, know what the heck's going on, be willing to compromise and everything. He is the epitome of what we should look at as a politician, a professional that serves the public, and we're really going to miss him and his contacts and all the work he's done. Again, thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Jerry. On behalf of the entire board and the staff of FORA, I want to wish everyone a very, very Merry Christmas and a happy holiday and a healthy and warm and peaceful New Year. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in January. We are adjourned. 2:36.